I remember being a kid sitting with the Bible in my hand feeling so guilty because no matter what I tried, I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel connected to this book. I didn't feel connected to God, and that dampened my relationship with him for a long time. And I just wish I could go back to the boy I was and explain this to him. I wish I could explain that the Bible is kind of like a piano. Okay, now that I read this script out loud, it kind of seems dumber than when I wrote it, but I hope you still understand. The Bible is kind of like a piano. If you had never heard a piano played before, you would just think this is a wooden box with some white rectangles inside of it. It is devoid of meaning right now, and it is only when we start interacting with the keys that we begin to get something out of it. And I guess in this analogy, each verse/chapter in the Bible is kind of like one of these keys. After you start exploring some of the keys, you can start putting them together one after the other to make some nice sounds. But the crazy thing is we can take a key from far away and connect it to another key and play them at the same time, and it sounds even better. And we can begin to make harmonies and chords. And as we learn more of these connections, more of the ways we can play them together, we can start making songs. I wish somebody told me that the Bible isn't some passive book I just read. It's an active process involving you and the pages, and it's your job to find the connections, to find the harmonies, and play the songs to God. And just like learning on the piano, this is a skill, it's an art form, it takes time. And as you get more used to the basics of things, you can keep going and you'll be more fulfilled and love this instrument the more you go. And inside the finite set of 88 keys, there is an infinite amount of songs to be played. And inside this set of finite pages, there is an infinite amount of discoveries to be made about our God. And sometimes we can get sheet music or instruction from other people. That's why we have pastors and Bible studies. And also the best part is we can get God to come down and teach us the piano too. He can sit us down in his lap as he teaches us the instrument he created and knows everything about. The Bible is an instrument, never fully understood by us, never fully completed, and it's our job to play the songs that honor God. That's my analogy I wrote down. There's definitely some holes inside of it, but I hope you got the general idea. So I just wanted to end this video off on giving you an example of what it's like to make one of these songs in the Bible, or kind of what I was talking about, and it's just something that I've been studying. I was reading the story of Cain and Abel, right? The story about the older brother and the younger brother, and the older kills the younger out of jealousy for finding favor with God. In and of itself, this story has so much depth and things to unpack, but I wanted to show you how connecting this story to another can unlock new keys, harmonies, chords. If you go a little bit further along to Genesis, to the story of Jacob and Esau, this is also a story about two brothers where it is said before they are even born that the older shall serve the younger, which is kind of weird because especially at the time they always prioritized the firstborn. They gave them more power and privileges. And only through attaching Cain and Abel to the story of Jacob and Esau, I realized Abel is the younger brother too, and he found favor with God, and that fact was not important to me until I started looking at this trend, right? And then I looked for this specific thread in more stories of the Bible, trying to see if there was a connection there, and there is. Look at all the chosen ones by God that weren't the firstborn. Isaac, Solomon, Moses, David, Joseph. And it's like, dang, there's a connection here, but why? And I searched this up and I got to see in Romans 9, for the children not yet being born, nor having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him who calls. It was said to her, the older shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. Is God subverting the idea of the firstborn on its head to show who is really in power here? Before they were even born, God chose them. It's not of works what we value, it's God. And it's all God. And this is further emphasized by the fact that a lot of these dudes that were chosen, they did some bad things. Like you look at Jacob, he was a liar. And who is better to show the glory of God than someone like Jacob? And that's encouraging for me too, man, because I got some horrible tendencies inside me. It's good to know that God can still have grace, But then, the crazy thing that blew my mind, 1 Corinthians 15:45, and so it is written, the first man Adam became a living being, the last Adam became a life-giving spirit. However, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, and afterward the spiritual. And this verse says that Adam was the first and Jesus is the one who comes after. But we all know Jesus is the real firstborn. And that just hit me like, man, all of these stories are a foreshadowing or paralleling Jesus in some way. Look at Jacob and Esau. Esau is a very natural dude. It says he's got hair everywhere. Jacob, for the sinner he is always striving after God and his blessing and that birthright. He's got the spiritual. And look at David and his brothers. All of his brothers are jacked, looking more fit to be king. But Samuel is told to pick David because he's a man after God's own heart. You look at the parallels here. You look at all the ways this whole thing is connected, all the songs that we can make, and that is all about Jesus. What was once a collection of stories that I was stone cold, emotionless while reading. I got so emotional when I saw this connection. Just that there's so much love and life in these words. And that's all I gotta say. And thank you guys so much for watching.